good afternoon, and welcome to the Big Show. As always, we do the Big Show 4 days out of the week at 5 o'clock. We try and get to you. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that we like to do to try and wrap up the day and the news of the day, right, and everything else. It's one of those things where every day there's not going to be news, but there's enough news that we can at least talk about some things and talk about what has gone on when it comes to the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, today the news of the day is a new receiver, sort of. Not really a new receiver yet, but apparently, according to Adam Schefter, on Thursday, a new receiver is going to at least come and check out the Steelers to see if the Steelers are something. There's a mutual interest and all that other stuff. And so to me, when I look at it from that standpoint, it's worthy of being talked about. Now, who is this receiver we're talking about? Well, that would be one Gabe Davis. Now, I looked up Gabe Davis. I mean, he's a veteran guy. And I would say that since he's a veteran guy, he's somebody that could add a little bit of something to what they have, and he's probably better than some of the guys they have. He's pretty young. If you think about it, he's pretty young. And the other part of it is he's not going to cost that much money. That's the big thing. You know, I don't know if they're going to get what they're going to get from him, but the Jags are going to have to pay him like $11 million this year, which means he's going to probably be able to be signed a very similar deal to what they did to Russell Wilson last year, where they gave him basically the league minimum or maybe a little bit more than that to come here. If you look at what he is or what he's been, he's got 2,700 receiving yards and 27 touchdowns in 4 seasons with the Bills. Last year, 20 catches for 239 yards. It tells me when I look at it that he is a guy that actually can maybe stretch the field a little bit and maybe be a guy that is a nice compliment to DK Metcalf, which, by the way, DK Metcalf apparently is not in OTAs, and I don't hear everybody screaming and yelling about him. TJ Watt is not in OTAs, and I don't hear everybody screaming and yelling about him. The only one that's missing OTAs that seems to be a problem is Aaron Rodgers, and he's not even on the team. But I will say it's important to know that, you know what? OTAs don't matter. They don't. So stop. That's what I would tell you. And I think that's what it's going to be. So I really believe that is going to be important to note that it's really, really just one of those things where Gabe Davis is a guy with speed. He's a guy that can stretch the field. He's a guy that can add to what they have. I just don't know what exactly, beyond that really what we're going, that's really what is going to be able to help the Steelers at this point. They do need another receiver. I mean, Gabe Davis does a lot of good things in terms of, like I said, 20 catches, 239 yards. That's basically roughly, 20 yards a catch, something like that? No, 10 yards a catch. I'm sorry. My math is terrible. Let's try that again. That would be like 11 yards a catch, something like that. But still, guy that seems to be sure-handed. He's got some speed. Right now, who's the number 2 receiver? Probably Calvin Austin, right? I mean, he's probably their number 2 receiver. They have Roman Wilson, who, again, we've heard a lot about when it comes to the OTAs and all that other stuff. But reality is it's going to be one of those situations where I just don't know. If adding, Gabe Davis is sort of the final piece of the puzzle to put in place before we figure out who the quarterback is or not. I mean, it's on some level, it might be. On other level, you know what? They might still need another guy. It's encouraging that they have a veteran like him on the line. It's encouraging that they have somebody like him to, come visit and take a look at. But be honest with you, I think until they get a quarterback, or at least get their quarterback situation, settled, I think the biggest thing is going to be this. They get their quarterback situation settled, and then we see what the team looks like. But again, if you read, what's going on in OTAs, and again, it's OTAs, right? What is that? Organized team activities or whatever it stands for. They're not in pads. They're not playing full contact. They're not, blocking and tackling. They're basically doing glorified 7-on-7s. Only the linemen are in there as well. And so everybody looks good at OTAs. Because if you're in the NFL, I'm going to give you a hint. If you're in the NFL, you're probably on some level pretty good at football. And if you don't have to deal with the physicality, the hitting, the blocking, and the tackling, you're probably going to look good running free, running your routes free, and all the other stuff that you're doing. It's going to be, to me, I think that's the key. That's the key. OTAs, 7-on-7, basically. Mini camp, It's not till they put on the pads and really start hitting. Then you can kind of see who, really wants to play and who can play and who can't play. That's the period. And I think that's where it comes down to. You have Calvin Austin. You have, obviously, Roman Wilson is another guy that people are talking about. So, you look at the Steelers' receiving corps, and it looks a little bit thin. I do think DK Metcalf, I could make this argument. DK Metcalf is better than George Pickens. And Roman Wilson healthy will be better than what they got from him last year. So, they have upgraded the receiver room on some level, but there's still a long way to go, I think. I have to see Robert Woods and see what he has to offer before I have any real opinion about it. But to be honest, when you think about it, you've got Metcalf, Woods, and Austin, and then Roman Wilson. You've got 4 guys that you're hoping that you can build around. And then you've got, some other guys like Scotty Miller hanging around. But we'll see. To me, the thing about Gabe Davis is it shows you that the Steelers are still being proactive. And I think that's the larger story out of this thing. Whether he signs or he doesn't sign, they're still being proactive. They're still going out and they're trying to, find guys to make their team better in an area they need to get better at. So whether you like Gabe Davis or not, whether you dislike him, whether you whatever, you basically have to really kind of tip your cap to Omar Khan and company because they understand, they understand that they're not good enough there. And because they're not good enough there, it's just one of those things where they've got to find ways to get better and find players to make them better. And I think that's what is always going to be the most important thing to me. Are you trying to get better? And I think they are. Now, there was a story today that I just think is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay. Apparently, Mason Rudolph, Miles Killebrew, and was it Rocky Blyer? They attended the thing at U.S. Steel. Trump had basically a press conference to announce a number of different things going on with U.S. Steel. Sounded like it was actually really good stuff, right? In terms of what it means for, in terms of what it means for this area and everything else. But whatever. Okay. The rally, the rally was basically about, talking about U.S. Steel. And it's just what it is. And so they were there and they presented, a shirt, a Steelers jersey to President Trump, and that was that. Well, of course, in this country and in this country right now, it's just kind of really ridiculous that people have so much time on their hands that all they want to do is complain and lose their minds about stupid things like this. If you don't like Donald Trump, fine. The fact that the Steelers had to issue some sort of a statement or some sort of, send something out to their season ticket holders saying, oh, we didn't have anything to do with this. We understand that there's a range of reactions from our fan base, blah, 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 blah. Give me a break, will you please? People need to grow up. Seriously. And what's hilarious is I don't remember these kinds of, oh, we're sorry. Please forgive us. I don't remember all of that crap when Dan Rooney was supporting Obama. And when Dan Rooney was, was it working for the Obama administration? I don't remember that. I don't remember when Mike Tomlin was raising money for, or, attending things for Hillary Clinton or whatever. I don't remember this being an outrage. Why is there an outrage? Because they have a different political view than you? I don't get it. I have no idea why this is even a story. Honestly, if I'd have been the Steelers, I would have just laughed at these people. Okay, you're upset. What do you want me to do about it? How does it affect your life? But this is what we do. We've got a real problem in this country with a bunch of people who are what I would call professional, right, victims. And when it comes to politics, they have no idea that there's a whole bunch of us out here who don't care, right? We care enough to vote. We care about the issues. We care about those things. But all of this nonsense where, we have to have outrage because somebody who's famous supports somebody who we don't support. You're out of your mind. It was like a couple of weeks ago when Bruce Springsteen, was over in the other country or whatever, and he was basically saying all kinds of nonsense about how he hates, Donald Trump and all this and the president and whatever. Okay, good. That's your views. And someone said, and I happened to say something to the effect of, I've always thought that Bruce Springsteen was overrated. I mean, his music's okay, but I've always thought he's a little overrated. I never got the idea why he was the boss and why he blew up to the place where he was like the king of rock. I don't really understand that because I thought he was good, but not great. And I got these people attacking me. Oh, well, I'm sure you like Kid Rock. What does that have to do? I don't even understand what that means. What does that even mean? Honestly, I don't care who supports who. If your music's really good, I like you. If your music's not good, I don't like you. If you're a great actor or actress, I like you. I like your work. I like what you do on TV. Don't care who you support. And it's the same thing with athletes. It's just ridiculous. It just is ridiculous where we're at. Oh, well, they supported Donald Trump. It's just like the whole thing with, people going to the White House for, champions going to the White House. For years and years and years and years and years, nobody cared. Nobody said a word. Guys skipped it all the time. There was, whatever. In 2016, all of a sudden after 2016, from 2016 to 2020, now all of a sudden it was a political statement. And it was, outrage if you went there. And then from 2020 to 2024, it seemed to be okay again. Nobody seemed to care. And now we're back. So to me, I think there are some people in this country that really, really need to reevaluate their lives. Honestly, need to reevaluate their lives. And I can tell you unequivocally, if I was in it, first of all, I've never gave a rat's ass about an athlete going to the White House or not. Who cares? If you want to, go. If you don't. Doesn't matter. But I know if I was an athlete, I wouldn't care who the president was. I would go because it'd be a really cool experience. So that's just me. I don't see it as an endorsement of either, the president or, not an endorsement of the president. It's just, you know what? You're going to experience something that very few people in this world will get a chance to experience. That's the key to me. You have a chance to go to the White House. Go. And if you don't want to, don't. But I don't care. But if you're not going because you don't like the person that's in the White House, then to me, you're missing out on a whole new world of experience. I was reading today, on Facebook, some mother was saying that, she wanted to wish her son a happy birthday. But she can't because he's not talking to her. Because her and her husband voted for Donald Trump. I mean, this is where we're at, man. I just don't really get it. I don't. And the Steelers are stupid here, too. The Steelers are stupid because this is a no-win situation. See, when it was just Killebrew and Mason Rudolph and Rocky Bleier there, and the Steelers weren't a part of it, if someone complained, all they had to say was, that was what they're doing. That was their thing, not ours. But by taking a stance and apologizing and all this crap, now you've chosen sides. So now are Trump supporters supposed to flood the Steelers offices with emails about how they're offended? You had to apologize for, guys going to see Donald Trump? Isn't that the next step of this? In my mind, that's probably what it is. And so I feel like, to me, when you put it all together, we've become really stupid in this country about certain things. We really have. And if you can't fathom, okay, I'm going to say this, and I don't care if you don't like it or not. If you can't fathom that there are people in this world who might have a different opinion than you, then it's a you problem, not a them problem. If you can't say, well, Mason Rudolph, I guess he supports Donald Trump, that's not my cup of tea, but whatever, and move on, that's a you problem. If you're outraged, that's a you problem. If you're outraged because, they gave him 47, well, you know what? He's the 47th president. They weren't giving him, what is it, Mel Blunt, or I think it's Mel Blunt's number. They weren't giving him somebody's number. If you're outraged by this, that's a you problem, honestly. It's not a me problem. It's not a them problem. It's not a Mason Rudolph problem because he didn't do anything wrong. And quite frankly, it was probably a pretty neat experience for him. And I think that's what people miss. They just do. If you're so outraged, I have friends who they're so unbelievably outraged by Donald Trump that, they can't even think straight. And anytime they hear his name or hear something about him, they lose their minds. Why? Why? Because you don't like his politics? Okay. Good. I just don't understand it. I don't. And this is what I always tell people. If you can't have a rational discussion about politics, right? without talking about the pros and the cons, without looking through things fully, without, trying to be objective and everything else. If you can't do that, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. If you asked me to sit here, I could tell you, probably 5 good things that every president from like Ronald Reagan, when I was old enough to, realize what politics were, from Ronald Reagan till now, I could probably tell you 5 good things that every one of them did and 5 things that I really didn't like about from every one of them. It's just reality. That's how you should be. But this tribalism we have nowadays is so stupid. We've got one side that are a cult almost in their support of this president. We've got one side that's like a cult almost in their hatred of this president. I just don't get it, man. I don't. It's like, do better. Let's all do better. I mean, we can't be in a situation where we're, just completely unhinged about every little thing that happens. But it seems like we are. And, it's just going to be interesting to see moving forward. For instance, if Mason Rudolph is the starter at the home opener, I envision when he runs out on the field, there'll be a lot of people that'll be cheering him. That's, to me, a direct result of this. There will be a backlash and people will be cheering him. Because the bottom line is, I'd be willing to bet a large portion of the Steeler fan base is a fan of president number 47. And so to me, the idea that we had to appease a few whiners is silly. But that's what we do in this country. We appease the shriekers, the people that shriek about everything, the professional victims. We appease them in every way we can. We try and create a safe space for them, and we appease them. And that's a big part of the problem. So to me, this story is so stupid. So stupid. It's just ridiculous. And if you're one of the people that complain to the Steelers, you probably need to reevaluate your life. I'm just going to tell you that. You really need to reevaluate your life because it isn't that important. If they support a guy you don't support, move on. If they support a guy and ultimately, it doesn't, what's amazing and why none of this really matters, I'll tell you why. Because if Mason Rudolph plays well, nobody's going to care about this. Nobody's going to care about this. Miles Killebrew is what he is. He does what he does. He's, I don't want to say anonymous, but I mean, let's face it. He's not exactly a guy that you hear his name more than 2, 3, 4 times a game. So if Rudolph plays well, nobody's going to care about this. If Rudolph throws some interceptions, I'm sure that people say, blah, 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 blah. They'll bring it up. But this is a you problem. It really is. Not a Steelers problem, not a Mason Rudolph problem, not a problem for anybody else but you, if you're one of the people that complained. I really believe that. And I think that it's really kind of dumb. Just circling back for a few minutes, Gabe Davis going to visit on Thursday. I gave my thoughts, but, we have audience that changes all the time. Gabe Davis, I think, is a good fit. I think that he would give the Steelers another weapon. I think that he's, got some speed and therefore maybe can take the top off the defense or whatever that stupid saying is a little bit, take some of the pressure off some of the other guys. He is a guy that had 2 touchdowns last year for Jacksonville. I think he had 20 catches for 240 yards, something like that. So he's someone worth kicking the tires on. Because if you think about it, he's going to be cheap. They're going to be able to get him on the same kind of deal they got Russell Wilson on. So I think that's the key. You've got a chance to sign a guy for almost nothing. So you need to go sign him. And so that's where we're at with that. I mean, you go sign him if he's a fit, if he's healthy, if he's all that other stuff. He's a speedy guy. He's somebody that, is a veteran. I think he's been in the league about 5 or 6 years. There's not a lot of downside. It's not going to cost you anything in terms of draft picks. You don't got to trade for him. None of that stuff. You just sign him. It costs you like $1.1 million or whatever the minimum for that, a veteran of his, 6 years in, whatever the minimum is. You could probably get him for that. Give him a couple dollars for a signing bonus, and because Jacksonville has to pay him $11 million. So I think if he comes in Thursday, my prediction is he probably on Thursday will actually sign a contract here. So there's that. By the way, the game is always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's on Carson Street, Archie's home of 80-cent wings, Monday through Thursday. Archie's is the home of 80-cent wings, Monday through Thursday. It's also the home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So if you get down to Archie's, tell Archie I sent you, tell him I said hello as well. And as always, enjoy a great time at Archie's, because Archie's is the place to be. That's Archie's on Carson Street. The other thing about Gabe Davis, I think, is it gives you the ability to take on an injury, which they don't have right now. They have no margin for error. So they as much as they need to add another playmaker and all that other stuff, they probably also need depth. And here's where you would get your depth, honestly. You get your depth by signing a guy like Gabe Davis. There's other people talking about Keenan Allen. I think you go get somebody that can help you. I'm not sure who that is. Somebody that can help you, though. And I think that, those guys that I just mentioned. So I just think that's the key. Go get somebody who's going to make your team better. In the area they need to get better. There's 2 areas still that I think they need help. Receiver is one. Quarterback is the other. We know what's happening at quarterback. We've talked about it forever. Receiver, hopefully what we see here with receiver with respect to Gabe Davis or Keenan Allen. Somebody else just brought up, wait, what just happened here? I lost everybody. Anyway, it's probably a good sign. All right, we'll do it again tomorrow. Have a good one.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.